Hi, hello, what's up? So a little while ago, I watched P.S. I Still Love You on Netflix, which is the second movie in the To All the Boys I Loved Before series, and I had some thoughts. Most of said thoughts are about how this movie is absolutely mediocre in every way possible. So I thought I'd talk about this today. I haven't read the books, I haven't read any of them at all, and so my opinion is solely based off of this movie. So before the one person watching this gets mad at me, stop. I didn't read any of the books. I've only seen the movies. Also, disclaimer, I am by no means a movie critic or a movie expert. I do not know everything there is to know about this subject. I'm just an idiot who likes seeing movies and who's learning more and more about film and filmmaking, and I have an opinion that I, for some reason, would like to share, and you, the one person watching this for some reason, wants to hear. So, hi! I'm just gonna go over some bullet points that I think make this movie the exact definition of just alright. Let's go. Let's get into it. I feel like none of the conversations were particularly interesting. Like, it was just two characters talking about nothing, I feel like. I don't know why, but maybe this was just me, but I just felt like it was so obvious that these were two actors just reciting lines that were written for them. Like, it didn't feel like they were their characters to me. I don't know why. I don't think it was the actors' fault. I think they were fine. Maybe it was the script that just took me out of the story, but I don't know. I don't know why, but I just did not like this dialogue. It was so boring. The one exception I have to this is the treehouse scene, though, because I do think that was pretty fun. I liked the dynamic that Laura Jean and Peter Kaminsky and John Ambrose sort of had together, where it was like, oh, they're dating, but John Ambrose doesn't know that yet, and so Peter might think that John likes her, and yeah, I liked that whole kind of really awkwardness that they had going. It actually felt real. I was feeling something for once in this movie, albeit awkward was the feeling, but hey, they got across what they wanted us to feel, so good job. But other than that, I don't know, none of the scenes were especially flavorful. I thought they were so bland. This movie also has the biggest setup and payoff I have ever seen. I thought that I had seen the biggest setup and payoff ever in Ford vs. Ferrari. When Christian Bale's son asks that guy, like, oh, is my dad gonna die? Like, you can tell immediately. Hello, red flag, setup. Please look for this later because there will be a payoff. But I thought it was okay. It was a good enough payoff that no matter how unsubtle the setup was, it was alright, you know? I gave it a pass because it was still very good. This movie, however, did not do that. The setup was when they were doing that lantern thing and Laura Jean was writing on the lantern before sending it up, and she's like, oh, promise to never break my heart. And they're like, okay, we promise to never break each other's hearts. And I'm just like, setup for an unexciting payoff. And that is the biggest setup and payoff I've ever seen. And by biggest, I mean like the most in your face out there, like, hello, I am setup. Please look later for the payoff. Overall, I think this story was just a step down from the first one, because at least the first one was kind of interesting, where we had like the 5 different letters and we don't know who's gonna get it, who's gonna reply. Yeah, so that was interesting, but this movie was just so not. Also, it's like they completely forgot that the next door neighbor character existed. We didn't see him once during this movie, which I thought was so strange. Yeah, he's not the love interest anymore, but at the same time, he should still have his own life. He should still be living next door. And then we never see him, which I just thought was so strange. In conclusion, bore fest. So hey, the dialogue and the story itself wasn't very exciting, but maybe, just maybe, the direction made something really nice to look at so that you were at least a little bit engaged. Whereas the first movie had a lot of really nice, like, thought-out shots that had this, you know, really unique sort of specific style, the second movie completely lacks that. For example, there's this one shot that I really like in the first movie. It's when they're at the ski lodge, when Laura Jean and her friend are sitting on, like, 2 beds, and they're at the corners of the frame, and it's just this really nice, symmetrical shot. I just thought it was really nice to look at, and you can actually tell it was thought out. This movie does not have that. One thing that just was really strange to me was how many driving shots there were in this movie. And I'm talking about overhead driving shots where the camera's like tracking the car through the streets. Like, the number of times we see that shot in just the first like 10 minutes alone is unforgivable. Like, how many more times do we need to see this car driving? We know what a car does. It go vroom vroom. We get it. Please show me something else. There's nothing particularly interesting to look at. I did really like the vibrant colors, which is something that they carried over from the first movie, and I like that they did that because it gives you this feeling of this, you know, fantasy, because she is sort of living this fantasy. She's always sort of wanted to live a fantasy. At the same time, the first movie had interesting shots like the symmetrical one, and I'm sure there's other ones, like I liked the hot tub shots too. They had those cool, like, more thought out shots that would add to the colors and like elevate it and make it this really nice thing to look at, right? The second one just didn't have that. I was so bored looking at the screen and listening to the audio. If you're gonna have those nice colors, that's not enough. You have to do something with the camera and move it in a way that makes me actually go, oh, hey, that's cool. Hey, I like seeing that. Otherwise, it's just an oversaturated picture trying to look like something a Visco girl would post. I also didn't think the lighting was anything very special. Most of this movie takes place either during the day or like at school, and that's simple enough lighting. The school will have like fluorescent lights. Outside just has the natural lights of the day, or at least lights that are trying to mimic that. I just felt like maybe they could have done something more. Like maybe when they're inside and it's dark, they could have a single lamp on and throw shadows around the places. Just do something that makes me want to keep watching. The one exception I do have is the lantern scene, which I thought was actually really gorgeous. I loved the way that the light just reflected on their faces and it like made little pinpricks. I thought that was beautifully done. But at the same time, it's very reminiscent of Tangled, and you cannot just do a Tangled. Only Tangled will ever be able to do a lantern scene that amazing, okay? Tangled is the only one who can do it. So if you're trying to be out here and do something that Tangled did, I'm just not gonna like it immediately, because hello, Tangled. In conclusion, where did the style go? This movie was very like 2014, 2015 YA. It was 2014, 2015 YA in a tiny nutshell. Just here, there you go. Here's a blast from the past. And I guess you can't really blame the movie for that because, yeah, it is based off a book that was published in like 2015, so it's gonna have those 2014, 2015 tropes. But at the same time, they're so overdone. The love triangle, which is done so much and it's almost never done well. Love triangles are annoying, they're boring, nobody cares anymore. Just pick a guy, stop leading them both on, and move along your day. There's the evil ex-girlfriend, which, again, same comment. They're overdone and they're annoying and nobody cares anymore. Yes, it was a huge thing to have like girls hating girls in like 2015 YA, but I feel like we're so over that at this point. We're entering the age of girls loving and supporting each other, and so when you're still writing girls that hate each other, you're just not listening to your audience. And yeah, they do like sort of make up at the end, but for the majority of 2 whole films, and yes, this is a problem that the first film had too, these girls hate each other, and it's just not fun. It's not fun. I guess you can't entirely blame the movie itself for this because it does have a subject material that it needs to stick to, but at the same time, if you're making an adaptation, you can definitely, you know, take creative liberties, change things around that you think might better the film. Especially when you're doing an adaptation from a book that's this old, like, you need to realize that the audience of this book, and just the audience of, you know, film goers in general, has matured. The climate has changed. Literally, but also metaphorically, like in our heads, the climate has changed. We don't care about love triangles anymore. We don't care about people playing with other people's feelings. We don't care about girls hating each other. We care about telling people how you feel. We care about not leading other men on. We care about girls loving and supporting each other and being there for each other. You gotta know your audience. You gotta know the climate that you're releasing this piece of media into. Maybe nobody else feels this way. Maybe you liked this movie. Maybe, you know, you liked all the stuff that was in it. But for me personally, I'm over it. I'm so over it. I came out of this movie thinking, what the hell? What the hell happened? And then I answered that question by saying, oh yeah, absolutely nothing. This movie was the definition of filler. Absolutely nothing happened in this movie. We spent the whole first movie trying to get Lara Jean and Peter together, and now in this movie they're finally together, but there's things driving them apart, and so basically it's like we're spending another movie trying to get these two together. I mean, when you really think about it, when you compare the two plots of these two movies, they're more or less the same. In the first movie, Lara Jean has a crush on an old friend, but, you know, some other hot guy comes in and she's like, oh, who do I want? I'm gonna pick the hot guy. In the second movie, Lara Jean is with hot guy, but hey, knock knock, an old friend comes back and she's like, I kind of like you, who am I gonna be with? Spoiler alert, she picks the hot guy. I mean, not saying that John Ambrose and the other guy in the first movie weren't hot. I mean, they were. You get it. They're the old friend, you know? That's their character archetype. So these movies that I wasted like probably 4 hours collectively watching were the same movie. Also, this is just a nitpicky thing for me. This second movie was really trying to like push Lara Jean and Peter apart, just so that we can think that John Ambrose has like a chance. But in my head, when Lara Jean gets together with Peter at the end, in my head I'm like, how? Why? Because the movie did not give Lara Jean a reason to want to be with Peter other than, I want him. The movie, I feel like, was really playing up John Ambrose and kind of pushing Peter to the side and showing all his shortcomings. But at the end, Lara Jean just goes back to Peter. And I'm just like, why? You don't have a reason to be with Peter. If you're making like a pros and cons chart, which, let's be honest, I love lists, so this is what I would definitely do. John Ambrose has a lot more pros than Peter does. Just saying. So it's like this conclusion comes out of nowhere where she realizes she wants to be with Peter the whole time. Honey, you really didn't seem like you wanted to be with Peter the whole time. If I were her, John Ambrose! In a heartbeat, okay? Basically, the first movie was exactly the same as the second movie, and the third movie will be exactly the same as the first two. That's my assumption. Again, I haven't read the books. So maybe book number 3 does something absolutely wacky, crazy, amazing that's gonna blow my mind to see in a film form. But as of now, I feel like I'm seeing a pattern, and it can only end with a movie that was just the exact same thing as the first two. Okay, that's it. Those were my thoughts on P.S. I Still Love You, which is movie number 2 in To All the Boys I Loved Before. To you, the one person watching this, if you've seen this film, let me know what you thought, because I kind of feel like I'm the only one who thinks like this. I did talk to my cousin who saw this and she had some of the same thoughts as I did, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just picky and I don't like anything. I will say that I liked this film better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And The Irishman. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I could make an entire video about why I hate Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And you know, I was thinking about doing it for a while, but I never got around to it because I just didn't have time. And at this point, like, the movie came out a while ago and award season is over, so no one's really gonna be talking about this movie anymore, so like, what's the point? Maybe I will though, just for fun. To the one person watching this, if you would like to see me yell about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, let me know. Maybe I will, because I like yelling. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye!